Right now, you are the only human species on Earth. Just one. No competitors, no cousins. But for almost all of human history, that was not true. Multiple human species lived at the same time. Some overlapped for tens of thousands of years. And then, one by one, they vanished. You are not the result of some grand evolutionary triumph. You might just be the one who got lucky. That idea sounds strange. You grow up believing humans were always alone at the top, but the fossil record tells a very different story. Around 300,000 years ago, at least 6 different human species walked the planet. Homo erectus in Asia, Homo naledi in southern Africa, Neanderthals across Europe and the Middle East, Denisovans in Siberia, Homo floresiensis, a small-bodied human on the island of Flores, sometimes called the hobbit, and your ancestors, Homo sapiens, just beginning to emerge in Africa. 6 species, 1 planet, and today, only 1 remains. So what happened to the others? For decades, the story was simple. Modern humans were smarter. We had better tools, better language, better brains. The others simply could not compete. Case closed. But that story is starting to fall apart. Take the Neanderthals. For a long time, they were painted as slow, brutish, and cognitively limited. Then, researchers like Dr. João Zilao began uncovering pierced shells, pigments, and evidence of symbolic behavior at Neanderthal sites in Spain. These were not the markings of a lesser mind. Neanderthals buried their dead. They cared for injured group members who could no longer hunt. Some had ear bones suited for complex sound processing, suggesting a capacity for spoken language. They were not less human. They were just differently human. And here is the detail that changes everything. You likely carry their DNA right now. In 2010, geneticist Svante Pääbo led the team that sequenced the Neanderthal genome for the first time. What they found stunned the scientific world. Most people with non-African ancestry carry between 1% and 4% Neanderthal DNA. That work eventually earned Pääbo a Nobel Prize. Think about what that means. Neanderthals did not simply lose to modern humans. In many cases, they merged with them. Their genes are still shaping your immune system, your skin, even how you respond to certain diseases today. So if they were smart, social, and capable of interbreeding with your ancestors, why are they gone and you are still here? The honest answer is unsettling. Nobody knows for certain. There are theories, though. Climate volatility is one of the strongest candidates. Around 40,000 years ago, Europe swung through extreme temperature shifts, sometimes changing dramatically within a single human lifetime. Neanderthal populations were small and scattered. Small populations are fragile. A run of bad winters, a failed hunting season, a disease outbreak, any one of these could tip a fragile population toward collapse. Modern humans, by contrast, may have had one quiet advantage: not bigger brains, not better weapons, wider social networks. Researchers studying artifact distribution have found that Homo sapiens sites contain materials transported from hundreds of kilometers away. Neanderthal sites rarely show that kind of range. This suggests modern humans maintained larger, more connected social groups, capable of trading resources, sharing information, and absorbing population shocks that would have devastated a smaller, more isolated group. In other words, you may not have survived because you were smarter. You may have survived because you were better connected. That single trait, the drive to maintain wide social bonds, to trust and rely on people outside your immediate group, may be the quiet reason you exist at all. Now think about the hobbit, Homo floresiensis. Standing barely over a meter tall, this species survived in isolation on Flores for possibly hundreds of thousands of years. Then, once modern humans reached the region, the hobbit disappeared from the fossil record within a relatively short window. Was it competition for resources, disease introduced by newcomers? We do not have a clear answer. What we do have is a pattern. Wherever Homo sapiens arrived, other human species did not last long afterward. That pattern should make you pause. There is one more species worth mentioning, Denisovans. For years, scientists had almost nothing to study. No skull, no skeleton, just a single finger bone and a tooth found in a Siberian cave in 2010. And yet, from that fragment, an entire lost population was reconstructed through DNA alone. Today, some populations in Papua New Guinea and parts of Southeast Asia carry up to 5% Denisovan ancestry. An entire human lineage, invisible in the fossil record, still quietly present in living people who have never heard the word Denisovan.
That should tell you something important. Extinction for these species was never total.
Their bodies disappeared. Their genes did not. Because it means your existence was not inevitable. It was not written into the laws of biology that one clever ape would rise above all its human relatives. It was closer to a demographic accident, a slightly larger social network, a slightly wider trade route, a slightly more resilient population size when the climate turned harsh. Run the simulation again with different weather patterns, a few different migrations, a few different disease outbreaks, and the Neanderthals might be publishing the studies about you. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. This isn't ancient history. It is a preview. You are, right now, a single species with no backup. Every human alive shares over 99% of the same DNA, an unusually low level of genetic diversity for a species this widespread, likely the result of a population bottleneck tens of thousands of years ago. Some researchers estimate the surviving population may have dropped to just a few thousand breeding individuals during a period of extreme climate stress. You are the descendant of survivors of a near-extinction event. Every person you have ever met descends from a group that came uncomfortably close to disappearing. So the next time you feel isolated, scrolling alone at 1 a.m., remember what got your ancestors through. It wasn't isolation. It was connection. Wide, resilient, overlapping social bonds that could absorb a crisis without collapsing. The other human species did not vanish because they failed at being human. They vanished because their networks were too small to survive what the world threw at them. You are not the pinnacle of evolution. You are the surviving branch of a family tree with 5 empty seats at the table. And the seat you're sitting in right now was never guaranteed. Somewhere in another version of the past, the climate holds steady a little longer. A Neanderthal band finds one more valley of game before the winter turns. A hobbit population on a small island never meets a stranger from across the sea. In that version, you do not exist. Someone else does. Someone else wonders on some other night, what if we are the last ones left?